The bell above the small neighborhood grocery store rang softly as another customer walked in. It was an ordinary morning in a quiet American town. Fresh coffee brewed behind the counter. Children stopped by for snacks before school. Elderly neighbors came in just to chat. Behind the register stood Emily Carter, a kind-hearted widow in her early 60s. Everyone knew her as the woman who never let anyone leave hungry. If a struggling family couldn't pay, Emily quietly wrote, "Paid," on the receipt and covered the cost herself. But not everyone appreciated kindness. A black SUV rolled into the parking lot. Two men wearing police uniforms stepped inside. Their expressions weren't friendly. One slammed a folded piece of paper onto the counter. "Time to pay your protection fee." Emily frowned. "I'm sorry, my what?" The taller officer leaned closer. "Every business around here contributes $5,000 every month." Emily's hands trembled. "I've never heard of anything like that." The second officer smiled coldly. "You have now." The customers quietly slipped outside. Nobody wanted trouble. Emily looked at the framed photo beside the cash register. It showed her late husband, David Carter, smiling proudly in military uniform. She whispered almost silently, "I wish you were here." The officers mistook her silence for fear. "You've got until tomorrow." They walked out laughing. Emily locked the door early that evening. She didn't cry. Instead, she picked up an old phone from a drawer. There was only one number she still remembered by heart. Thousands of miles away, retired Colonel Jack Donovan answered. "Emily." Her voice shook. I need some help." Jack became quiet. He hadn't heard from Emily in years. David Carter had once saved Jack's life during a dangerous overseas mission. Jack had promised him something long ago. "If your family ever needs me, I'll come." The next morning, Jack arrived wearing jeans, boots, and an old baseball cap. To everyone else, he looked like an ordinary retired veteran. No one would guess he had once commanded one of America's most elite special operations units. He hugged Emily warmly. "You've been carrying this place by yourself." Emily smiled. "David would have wanted me to." Jack spent the day helping stock shelves, greeting customers, and quietly observing. By afternoon, something didn't feel right. Several nearby shop owners kept glancing nervously toward the street. One elderly baker finally admitted the truth. "They've been collecting money from all of us for almost 2 years." "No one reported it?" Jack asked. The baker lowered his eyes. "We were afraid." Jack nodded. Fear was powerful. He had seen it in war. Now he saw it here. That evening, the SUV returned. The same two officers stepped inside. "So," one smirked, "did you find our money?" Emily swallowed nervously. Before she could answer, Jack stepped forward. "I have a question." The officers laughed. "And who are you?" "A friend." The taller officer pushed Jack backward. "This doesn't concern you." Jack remained perfectly calm. "I think it does." The officer reached for his radio. Jack noticed something immediately. The badge looked authentic. The uniform looked authentic. But the radio wasn't connected to the department's official network. "Interesting. Very interesting." Jack smiled. "You boys aren't real police officers." For the first time, their smiles disappeared. The shorter man became aggressive. "You got proof?" Jack calmly placed his phone on the counter. "I've been recording everything." The men lunged toward him. They never touched him. With years of disciplined training, Jack simply stepped aside, redirected their momentum, and restrained one without unnecessary force while the other stumbled into a display of cereal boxes. No punches. No dramatic fight. Just calm, controlled movements. Customers watched in stunned silence. One teenager whispered, "Who is this guy?" Jack simply answered, "Someone who keeps promises." Within minutes, real police officers arrived. Not because of luck. Earlier that afternoon, Jack had quietly contacted a trusted state investigator and shared his suspicions. The investigation had already begun. The fake officers tried to run. They didn't get far. As detectives searched the SUV, they uncovered fake badges, counterfeit IDs, cash from dozens of local businesses, and detailed records of the extortion scheme. But the biggest surprise came later. The investigation uncovered that the fraud wasn't just two imposters. A small network had been pretending to be law enforcement across several counties, targeting elderly shop owners who were least likely to fight back. Over the following weeks, Every victim was interviewed. Many admitted they had paid for months. Some had nearly lost their businesses. Emily listened quietly as neighbor after neighbor shared their stories. One elderly florist broke down in tears. "I thought I was the only one." Emily gently held her hand. "No, you were never alone." The recovered money couldn't erase the fear, but it helped struggling families rebuild. Jack declined every television interview. When reporters asked about the incident, he gave only one statement. "The heroes aren't the people who stop wrongdoing. They're the people who choose honesty when fear tells them to stay silent." A month later, the town gathered outside Emily's store. Children decorated the sidewalk with colorful chalk. Local musicians played cheerful songs. The mayor stepped forward. "Today we celebrate more than justice. We celebrate courage." Emily was invited to speak. She looked around at the crowd. Neighbors, friends, families. Some smiled, some cried. "I used to think strength meant never being afraid," she said softly. "But I learned something. Real strength is asking for help, and standing together." The crowd applauded. Jack stood quietly in the back, hoping no one would notice him. Emily called his name. Reluctantly, he joined her. She handed him the framed photograph of David. "You kept your promise." Jack looked at the picture for a long moment. "He once saved my life." Emily smiled. "And today, you honored his." Months later, business at the little grocery store was better than ever. Customers didn't come only to buy milk or bread. They came because the store reminded them that good people still existed. Emily started a community pantry where anyone in need could take food, no questions asked. Other business owners donated supplies. High school students volunteered after class. Even local police officers regularly stopped by, not for coffee alone, but to build trust with the community they served. One afternoon, a little boy asked Jack, "Were you really some kind of commander?" Jack smiled. "I had an important job once." The boy's eyes grew wide. "Were you brave?" Jack looked toward Emily, who was helping an elderly customer carry groceries. Then he answered, "Bravery isn't about fighting. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves." The boy nodded thoughtfully. Years later, people in that town still told the story. Not about the fake officers. Not even about the retired commander. They remembered the woman who refused to give up on kindness, even after someone tried to take advantage of it. Because in the end, courage wasn't measured by rank, medals, or titles. It was measured by the willingness to stand for what is right, help those in need, and remind others that integrity is stronger than intimidation. Sometimes, the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who quietly chooses courage, protects others, and inspires an entire community to stand together.